Peace and blessings in this corner box of 24. How's everyone doing this evening? Hope all is well. So, a lot of things going on in boxing, man, of course, always 24/7. But what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about a sports, not a sports writer, but an analyst like myself that's on YouTube. I'm not going to say his name, I'm not going to blow him up, but I'm going to just say this because, it just goes to show me something I learned a long time ago, that just because somebody says who they are doesn't mean that. Or because somebody acts like they know something, they may not know. They may not have that certain knowledge, or they don't know any more than you, or they're not better than you because they say that. So this person did an interview the other day, and well, not an interview. He did a podcast. He did a podcast like talking about boxes, and on his channel, he said that he made a comparison between Amir Khan and Kell Brook and Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. And a comparison that he made, which was real, to me, very immature, shows that he don't really know boxing very much. He made the comparison, number one, of Amir Khan moving up from a lower division and fighting a full-fledged welterweight fighter, Kell Brook. Okay, which is true. Amir Khan was fighting at a lower weight. He never was a full-fledged 147 pounder. I mean, he fought at 147, but he did fight at lower weight as well. Okay, right? We know that. He fought at 140. So he said Terrence Crawford fought at a lower weight and came up to welterweight, and now he's looking to fight a full-fledged welterweight in Errol Spence. So he made a comparison of them too. Now the differences, there are a few differences that I'm going to talk about. So one of the differences is that Terrence Crawford came from 135 and 140. Then he went to 147. He was undisputed, though, at 140. Amir Khan was never undisputed at 140. Okay? So that's number one. Then he said that they both are very athletic, and their athleticism is something that could get them over the top, but maybe not when they're fighting a full-fledged welterweight like Kell Brook in Amir Khan's case, and Errol Spence in Terrence Crawford's case. So here's the thing. I don't see so much athleticism with Amir Khan. I mean, these good boxing skills, his main asset to me was his speed. Okay, that was his main asset, and he threw some combinations. But when you're talking about Terrence Crawford, you're talking about, again, he was undisputed at 140. Okay? So you're talking about speed, you're talking about combinations, you're talking about defense, you're talking about counter punching, you're talking about more than one thing with him. So there's no comparison between those two fighters. Okay? But this is what was notated in this podcast, that he could see basically Amir Khan coming up and fighting a full-fledged welterweight in Kell Brook, and basically he said it after Amir Khan lost. So basically trying to say, well, he saw the same thing. He sees the same thing is going to happen with Terrence Crawford. He's going to fight a full-fledged welterweight in Errol Spence, and he's going to lose. This is what he's been saying. This is what he feels. And I'm like, nah, that's not going to happen. Terrence Crawford is at his weight now. He's at a good weight. Just because he started out 135, what does that mean? Because if that's the case, Floyd Mayweather started out at 126. And he's one of the best welterweights ever. Right? He was one of the best welterweights ever. Even went up to 154. Okay, so coming up to 147 from 126, that didn't take away from his skills. And he fought full-fledged welterweights, did he not? When he came to welterweight, he had to fight a full-fledged welterweight when he came to 147, right? And what did he do? He beat them. Okay? He beat Miguel Cotto, right? He beat Shane Mosley, right? I mean, he beat full-fledged welterweights. So what are we saying here? So no, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence is not going to be like Amir Khan and Kell Brook. That's just a case of Kell Brook being a better fighter than Amir Khan for the most part. It didn't have nothing really to do with the weight. Kell Brook is not a bad fighter, okay? He's a good fighter. Amir Khan is a good fighter too, but he just couldn't beat Kell Brook. But Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence is two different fighters, man. And Terrence Crawford is comfortable at 147. So it don't matter how big Errol Spence is. That's not gonna be the deciding factor. Like Floyd said, skills pay the bills. So if I'm better than you, it don't matter how big you are. Terrence Crawford has more to offer in fighting Errol Spence than Amir Khan ever would have to offer in fighting Kell Brook or anybody else. Okay? So, that comparison that was made, that really wasn't good. All right? People need to really learn the boxing game. Styles make fights. Okay? That's what it's all about. And if my style could overcome your style, it is what it is. It ain't gonna have to do with anything about weight and where I came from, where you came from. Okay? It has to do with my style, and it has to do with the skill level that I have. So Terrence Crawford is not gonna have no problem with Errol Spence. And he could beat Errol Spence. And I believe he's gonna beat Errol Spence if they ever fight. That's my opinion. And I don't see it being that hard. Because Terrence Crawford has the power, he has the speed, he's a counterpuncher, and he has enough defense that he can beat Errol Spence. Okay? That's it. And he's still in his prime. And so is Errol Spence. Now maybe Kell Brook and Amir Khan a little past their prime. But you got at the same time, Amir Khan, he was in a lot of wars, man. He's been hit a lot. He's been tapped up. He's been knocked out. That's another thing why we can't compare. Terrence Crawford ain't never been knocked out. Okay, he ain't never been hurt like that. So how we comparing Amir Khan and Terrence Crawford, man? Come on, man. Do your homework. Do your research. Don't just to make a video. We just say anything, man. Nah. One thing that I do. I give you the facts. If I say anything that's wrong, man, message me and tell me I'm wrong. Because I could be wrong now. But I'm not going to just say anything that's stupid at the same time and make a comparison that makes no sense. If I make a comparison, then I really got to prove it. And if I can't prove it, I shouldn't make the comparison. Okay? So that's what I got for tonight. Peace and blessings in this corner box of 24. Please subscribe to the page. Please, press the like button. Let me know you like the content. Let me know what you don't like. Let me know what I could do better. And that's what we'll do. Okay? In this corner box in 24. Peace and blessings. Be safe.